Story 1. Don't give up. Sometimes it is necessary to cut your losses and start anew. Avoid falling for the sunk cost fallacy. Story 2. It is not in our budget this year to give raises, said months after the company reported record profits and a significant raise for the chief executive officer. Story 3. Money doesn't bring happiness. As far as I'm concerned, money means financial freedom. Who wouldn't be happier knowing you don't have to worry about paying bills anymore? Story 4. She is not harmless. She is vindictive and will act the same way towards anyone she encounters. Story 5. Corporations are entities. However, they are practically immortal, possess more rights than individuals, have limitless resources, and are never required to serve prison sentences for breaking the law. Story 6. Used to close for Domino's. Part of closing involves breaking down the make line where all the toppings are kept and cleaning it out at the end of the night. To ensure we get out on time, we needed to break down the make line early. There was simply too much to do at the end of the day, and cleaning the make line took up a lot of time. One night, my district manager came in and saw us breaking down the make line. He said we couldn't do that. If our franchise inspector showed up, we would lose points for having the make line broken down early. In his words, if we wanted to help get out on time, we should be folding boxes that had nothing to do with cleaning up the store. I simply responded, okay, and ignored him after that. Story 7. Turn the other cheek. My parents strongly believed in that, but it only made me a doormat until I had enough and learned to stand up for myself. Story 8. I cannot sue over a misdiagnosis that cost me my leg. It was more than just my leg. It took away my freedom, independence, ability to work, and defend myself. Apparently, necrotizing fasciitis is hard to diagnose. This was during COVID-19, and I spoke to a doctor through a tablet. I waited for 20 hours with a high fever and no trauma. They said I had a sprained ankle. Story 9. Most conspiracy theories are exaggerated. As a project manager, I can attest there is no way that those involved could execute many conspiracies without revealing their existence. The projects I have worked on are challenging at best. Story 10. Trump is already wealthy. That means as president he will be incorruptible. Indeed, wealthy and powerful individuals never desire more money and power. Absolute power never corrupts anyone. Story 11. The customer is always right. Seldom, definitely. Occasionally, yes. Sometimes, likely. Often, probably. Always, absolutely not. Story 12. The election was stolen from President Trump. If that isn't the biggest nonsense I have ever heard, my ears have not heard the Beatles either. Story 13. I once interviewed a candidate for a sales role and mentioned we were looking for someone to sell in South Africa, which was not the job he applied for. He came up with all sorts of claims about how well he knew the market and dropped names of several politicians. He then stated, I walk with Mandela and have access to everyone. It was strange how he looked blank when I asked what he thought of Madiba. Story 14. The only true thing in the entire world is my holy book, written centuries ago by religious fanatics on a particular landmass who were not even present for the events they narrate. Do not believe your senses, your friends, your experience, your science, facts, or logic. Do not believe anything except what I say my book states is true. Story 15. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as our country holds people in poverty, while certain elected officials persuade them to continue voting for the same policies. Story 16. If we cut taxes for the very wealthy, they will be more entrepreneurial, generate more economic activity, and tax revenue will actually increase. Story 17. Social Security is facing significant issues. You spent all the money and would rather fund corporate tax breaks than fulfill the obligations you committed to. We all paid into Social Security. The funds were placed in the general fund and have been spent. Story 18. That Donald Trump is going to save America. I'm in a very red state, and there are more Trump flags going up every day here. So far, 100% of them have taken down their United States flag to put up one or more Trump flags. These supporters want to end the USA, not save it. Story 19. In college, I caught my boyfriend kissing another girl at a party, and he said he was just giving her gum back. It was hilarious and still makes me laugh so much. Story 20. It is unhealthy to drink water that has been microwaved because the radiation damages the DNA of the water. Story 21. Trump will become president. It has been almost 8 years since this claim was first made and over 7 years since it was proven false. Yet some individuals still maintain this assertion. This is completely unfounded. Story 22. The election was stolen. Our elections are so decentralized that it is impossible. If you understand how elections work, which you should if you are older than 11, you know it is impossible to steal an election while keeping it a secret. You would have to be incredibly foolish for such an act to go unnoticed. Story 23. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This phrase is often said by individuals who were born with the best opportunities. Meanwhile, some people begin their lives in difficult circumstances. Winning the birth lottery is very challenging. However, it is important to seek help whenever possible. I consider myself fortunate to have had support throughout my life. This support has influenced every aspect of my life. Even though I am no longer receiving assistance from family, their investment in me has created a safety net. I will never be destitute or homeless. I may often be broke, but I will never be poor. If you need assistance, there is no shame in seeking help. Life can be overwhelming, so it is essential to get support whenever you can. Story 24. The people who believed you can't wear face masks because of mask breath and its negative impact on dental hygiene. Story 25. Trickle-down economics. I knew it was flawed when I first heard of it, and I was especially skeptical when I heard it referred to as horse and sparrow economics. The idea is that feeding a horse a large amount of oats will result in some of the feed passing through for sparrows to eat. Is the best that most of us can look forward to sifting through whatever the wealthy cannot keep for themselves? Our economy seems to be a funnel that takes money from the poor and gives it to the rich, with wealth never truly trickling down. Story 26. The whole QAnon situation is concerning, and it is alarming that so many Americans can believe such misinformation. Story 27. An individual with poor emotional regulation, several bankruptcies, and a history of inappropriate comments about women could be considered suitable for the presidency. Story 28. My jaw started to hurt and make clicking noises when I first got braces for a severe overbite. I brought this up with my dentist, and they said I was just stressed and that it was my fault for not managing my stress. Years later, they conducted an X-ray for a different issue. Apparently, both discs in my jaw had slipped out of their sockets, which was entirely due to the braces. That was frustrating. Story 29. People denying climate change and human-caused habitat destruction say, "The Earth will be fine." Are you suggesting that the countless animal and plant species driven to extinction daily due to habitat destruction, human encroachment, overexploitation, climate change, and other human activities will be fine? All those ecosystems we have permanently destroyed and those we continue to degrade through deforestation and land development, the coral reefs experiencing bleaching, the ecosystems disrupted by rising temperatures and weather changes, and the ecosystems worldwide overrun with invasive species that they cannot outcompete. Are these all going to be fine? Don't disregard this reality. Only someone completely unaware of the damage being done to our natural ecosystems and the life forms within them could make such an indifferent and incorrect claim. Once a species goes extinct or an ecosystem is destroyed by human development or climate change, it is gone forever. There is nothing fine about any of that. We must confront the political propaganda surrounding this issue and acknowledge what we are doing to this planet and the life forms that call it home. We need to fix this. Story 30. It wasn't an insurrection. It was a legitimate protest, paraphrasing Ron DeSantis and others in the Republican Party trying to mislead us about what we saw on television and from our various news sources, biased or not. I have been alive for almost 60 years and have heard a lot of misleading information. This one takes the cake for me, and I feel sad for the members and families of the Capitol Police. Story 31. A lady tried to tell me that the floodlight needed to be removed from a building because her guard dog, a pet husky, couldn't see at night with the light on, and intruders could potentially sneak past it. The amount of misinformation in her head required to make that statement is astonishing. Story 32. The meek shall inherit the earth. As Robert Heinlein once said, usually a piece of it about 3 feet by 6. Story 33. The Earth is a sphere, not flat, but we are facing the inside. There is evidence in the Bible. I watched a video 10 years ago where someone tried to explain several layers of glass domes, some having the sun and moon on them, a plasma cloud, and a giant double-sided pyramid in the center of the universe. It was quite nonsensical. Story 34. Being a good businessman does not make you suitable to be President of the United States. The two jobs require entirely different skill sets and mentalities. Recently, it assumes that one was a good businessman to begin with, when they were actually a lifelong grifter supported by wealthy parents, with multiple bankruptcies and a long history of taking advantage of contractors. Story 35. You would be prettier if you smiled more. Well, it's a good thing I'm not trying to be attractive for you, is it? By the way, if you want to see me smile, why don't you say something I don't hear often, like, thank you? For context, I received more "you should smile more" comments when I used to be a server. Story 36. The government cares about its people. This is true for most countries, not just America. Story 37. A boomer woman pleads, only Trump can fix our country, after expressing dissatisfaction with the new self-funded health insurance that replaced the old plan. Trump wants to pass another tax cut for billionaires. He cares very little about our inadequate health insurance plan, Marjorie. Story 38. Being gay is a choice. It is self-explanatory. Many more people would choose to be gay. Happy Pride Month to everyone. Story 39. Free healthcare causes babies to be put to death. People who think like that often have flawed logic, yet this perspective is particularly perplexing. Story 40. You will often hear people watching Fox News say that individuals living on food assistance are so rich compared to them, and that people cannot afford a house because they are lazy and do not want to work. Meanwhile, they are living in a large house they bought for $180,000 in 1995 and receiving Social Security checks worth 10 times the amount of money people receive on their electronic benefit transfer cards each month from the same government safety net they claim nobody should have. Story 41. The parents' excuse of, I used to walk so many miles to school when I was your age. Sure you did. Story 42. That Donald J. Trump has ever accomplished a single useful thing in his life, or that he deserves a second chance to undermine our democracy. Putin's puppet cannot win without Russian interference denigrating his opponent. What a load of nonsense. Story 43. Conservatives are the opposite side of the coin from liberals. Conservatives have individuals with extreme views who support them, while liberals advocate for everyone to have access to housing, healthcare, and nutrition. They are not the same. Story 44. As you get older, you start to realize what actually brings happiness. Family, friends, and a life lived according to your sense of right and wrong. It involves being proud of the decisions you made during times of conflict and knowing you lived the best life you could. While money can provide some physical safety and peace of mind, the memories of vacations and events are wonderful. However, when you reflect on those moments, it's usually the people you spent that time with who bring you joy. Story 45. You can achieve anything when you grow up. Work hard, and you can even become the president. Take initiative and improve your situation. The American dream. I love you. Story 46. Catholics believe in transubstantiation. They believe the communion wafer actually turns into the body of Christ, real human flesh. While they say they believe this, I suspect that deep down they do not. Story 47. Soul Citizen is misleading. I have seen many YouTube videos about this, and I can't believe people can delude themselves into believing this. Story 48. Lowering corporate taxes leads companies to hire more people and create more jobs. Many posts in these discussions claim that only those with limited understanding believe this idea. However, it is a perspective that many people accept because they have been told it and have not thought to question it. Consider what corporations are doing now that corporate taxes are among the lowest in modern history. They are buying back shares to increase shareholder value. Story 49. Young Earth creationism is widely accepted and enforced where I live. People can become quite angry if you suggest it is incorrect. Story 50. You're essential during COVID. The line between essential and expendable became very clear during that time. Story 51. A poster on another forum repeatedly and confidently declared, "Within 10 years of leaving office, George W. Bush will be ranked among the greatest U.S. presidents of all time." Story 52. Holy books are there to teach morality and enlightenment. They serve to keep people uninformed and compliant. Story 53. The Civil War was about states' rights. South Carolina did not care about states' rights when it petitioned the federal government for the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act. Story 54. Nearly every post from the AITA and relationship advice subreddits is honestly embarrassing for people to engage in. Story 55. God created suffering to test your faith, and you will never experience more suffering than you can handle. Story 56. I read a post detailing how solar panels increase the occurrences of tornadoes and thunderstorms. Story 57. I heard that a battery submerged in water will electrocute you, but at least you won't get eaten by a nearby shark. Story 58. The biggest load of nonsense I have ever heard is that Scientology is able to get away with child labor, child abuse, and disconnecting from families for the greater good. The fact that they hold individuals essentially as prisoners is shocking. I have never been so compelled to organize a raid to rescue those who genuinely want to leave but are not allowed to. They are coerced into signing documents that claim they are not there against their will, even though they truly wish to depart but fear the abuse will worsen and fear losing their family members due to disconnection. Shame on Tom Cruise, whom I have never cared for. I emphasize my dislike for him but have always admired John Travolta. I wish he would come to his senses and join Leah Remini in exposing the dictator-like leader David Miscavige. He deserves to face the consequences of his actions. I pray for everyone enduring these shabby conditions, and I applaud Leah Remini for bravely exposing the oppressive environment endured by those trapped, often because their parents are brainwashed. I want to help, but all I can do is pray for something that will dismantle this prison disguised as a benevolent organization while individuals like Miscavige live in luxury. God bless Leah Remini and Mike Rinder. I cannot stop thinking about the innocent people trapped without a way out. Someone must assist Leah Remini and Mike Rinder in rescuing these captives. That is essentially what they are. God bless you, Leah Remini. I pray for you to find more powerful allies willing to support this critical endeavor. Story 59. That hard work will get you somewhere. Takes a lot more than that to succeed, especially nowadays. Story 60. Trickle-down economics, said the individual who caused hundreds of mentally ill people to become homeless by cutting off their funding. Republicans have this astonishing ability to hear nonsense coming from their leader, label it as valuable, and deny all the harm they have done. Story 61. Flat Earth, or Matthew 16 verse 28. I tell you the truth. There are some standing here who will not experience death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Story 62. Every time Donald Trump approaches the lectern, it seems he is making things up as he goes along, and people appear either too uninformed or indifferent to fact-check. Story 63. Donald Trump, a convicted felon and longtime traitorous Russian asset, is legally running for President of the United States. Story 64. I used to have a coffee shop, and we would regularly get salespeople trying to sell us various products. A common pitch was, when one customer found out, he told all his friends, and they all came running over. Even a person trying to sell a payment system used that line, as if there was something special about tapping a card on their machine. I would tell them I knew they were not being truthful. Some would leave quietly, but others would insist on their claims. Story 65. That hard work will get you somewhere. Hard work alone may not lead to success. Making the right connections and having the right surname can also play a significant role in achieving your goals. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.